Certification Authority, NRCA. However, the ministry which acted on a certification authority did not conduct information system audit in compliance with the Act. Failure to carry out periodic IS audit might result in failure to address potential system vulnerabilities. Data breaches could culminate in loss of critical information such as private key used for document authentication, risking the security of sensitive data. The management response, Chair, is as follows. The auditor's observation is noted. The committee may wish to be informed that the General Open Worldwide for Application Security Project, or WASP, compliant security audits were conducted regularly, quarterly in 2022, and monthly in 2023. Only minor vulnerabilities were discovered and promptly resolved by the developers. There were no data breaches resulting in the loss of critical information or revenue. The next bullet, Chair, on page 3, that's underutilized developed services. According to project sign-off document, the consultant completed the design, development, and implementation of the integration of RTSA, PACRA, ZDI, National Registration and Citizenship, NRC, and Police Service, Interpol, under Phase 1 on 26 February 2020. Although the NRC integration was built and paid, developed service were not implemented as at 31st July 2023. Further, it was observed that utilization of the police service, Interpol, was very low, as only 2 transactions between January and June 2023. Management response, Chair. The auditor's observation is noted. In the fiscal year 2022, the Government Service Bus, GSB, and Government Payment Gateway, GPG, processed 391,665 cases in total, including Zambia Department of Immigration, ZDI, 91,656 cases, PACRA, 97,114 cases, and RATSA, 165,161 cases. The NRC service could not be used on the GSB due to the fact that the Integrated National Registration Information System, INRIS, system was not ready for integration. The Zambia Police Service, ZPS, indicated that they required more training and equipment for the officers, and training for ZPS has since been conducted for some officers. However, given the vastness of the ZPS and the institutional administrative changes, training shall be continuously conducted to ensure there is utilization for the developed services, which can be attested by the number of the public that have acquired police online services such as fingerprinting clearance. Chair, I move to still on page 4, Chair. The first bullet there is implementation of Phase 2. On 9th October 2020, the Ministry of Finance and National Planning signed an addendum with .gov Solution LCC to commence implementation of Phase 2 on the Government Service Bus and Payment Gateway project. The scope of works for Phase 2 were as follows in Table 2 below. Chair, the scope is include item 1 up to 7. Item 1 is the regulatory reform. 2, national interoperability platform. 3, government payment gateway. 4, digital public services. There is type A, self-service. Type B, operator assisted system. Type C, services requiring a visit to a government office. The item 5 in the table, Chair, is development of backed information management system, back-end information management system. And under that, item 1 there, 5.1, basic system involving tourism licensing and grading system, which is called MOTA. Zambia Compulsory Standard Agency, ZCSA. Bullet 3, society registration system, ROS. Mining license system, MOMD. And the Zambia Immigration Service System. And item 2, Chair, is medium complexity systems. The first bullet is ZAMTIS, which is RATSA, and the second bullet is EPACRA, which is PACRA. The sixth item, Chair, is complex system. That's land administration and management system, which is MLNR. And 7, cloud infrastructure. The following, however, were observed. The bullet there, Chair, is low utilization of mobile enforcement application. According to the scope, works and sign-off document, the consultant developed and implemented a smart enforcement app. The smart enforcement app supports the automated enforcement of vehicles and driver-related violations such as validity of road tax, certificate of fitness, driving license, and road service licenses, RSL, for commercial vehicles. Law enforcement officers are also able to issue and check the status of fines using the app. The Smart Enforcement app also addresses the delays caused to motorists during random stoppages for physical checking of vehicles and verification of documents. Chair, I move to page 5. A review of user utilization on the app revealed that there were low utilization of the application, in that only 266 users were using the application, of which 29 out of the 738 were Zambian police traffic officers, and 235 out of 641 were RATSA officers. Management response, Chair. The auditor's observation is noted. The e-government division has been conducting sensitization program for foster adoption and change, and will continue this program to all institutions and the general public. Given its novelty, the adoption rate of 37% for RATSA mobile app is above reasonable expectation. The low adoption rate by the police officers is due to non-availability of mobile phone by the ZPS officers. However, recently, 100 mobile phones were provided to the early adopters. It's expected that the number of officers utilizing the app will increase. Chair, the next audit queries, or the next bullet, is unutilized developed services, phase 2. According to project sign-off document, the consultant completed the design, development, and implementation of society registration system, tourism licensing and grading system, and mining licensing system under phase 2 on 31st July 2023. Management response. The auditor's observation is noted. The ministry is committed to ensuring that all developed services are online and accessible to the public. The ministry will continue undertaking training whenever possible to ensure institutions are able to process the online services. Retraining in institution is necessary due to staff movement, requiring that new members of staff are taught how to process the digital application. In the fiscal year 2022, Registrar of Societies processed 8,956 cases development of a new mining license system was rescheduled for fiscal year 2023 due to unresolved issues with the current Ministry of Mines and Minerals Development contractor, Trimble. The GSB contractors' resources were redeployed by the ministry to other priority systems. The recent issuance of SI number 43 of 2023 mandates Smart Zambia Institute to enforce the use of GSB system by all service providers. This will improve utilization of services by institution on the GSB. Chair, the next bullet is the non-functional road tolling at Ratsa Port of Entry. According to scope of work under Addendum 1 to the contract, the consultant was required to develop road tolling at all the border posts under the Road Traffic and Safety Agency on 2nd July 2021. Chair, move to page 6. However, as at 31st July 2023, the service was not functional for a delayed period of over 24 months after the consultant had fully delivered and was paid under the first addendum. Management response: all services that were planned for under RATSA have been developed and implemented. The road tolling service under the National Road Fund Agency, NRFA, is among the services being considered in future digitalization plan. RATSA facilitates the collection of fees at port of entry on behalf of NRFA. The next query, Chair, is still on page 6. This is underutilized developed services, phase 3. According to project sign-off document, the consultant completed the design, development, and implementation of the Zambia Police Service traffic fines, seed control, passport travel document, Ministry of Fisheries under phase 3 on 31st July 2023. However, the system had not been implemented on the GSB despite the services having been built and signed off as completed as at 31st July 2023. Further, it was observed that utilization of services under the Seed Control and Certification Institute, WAMA, Plant Quarantine, and CCPC were very low between January and June 2023. Chair, the management response is as follows. The Auditor's General observation is noted. The Ministry has assigned officers to each of the cited institutions to facilitate efficient engagement. The systems for the Zambia Police Service traffic fines, seed control, passport, that's travel document, Ministry of Fisheries, Livestock and Aquaculture, were fully implemented and deployed to the GSB production environment. However, there were some technicalities which needed to be harmonized to ensure that the services are fully utilized. The issuance of SI 43 of 2023, which mandates the Smart Zambia Institute to enforce the use of the GSB system by all service providers, will support utilization of developed services. Chair, the next audit query, still on page 6, is failure to provide user acceptance testing certificates. ISO 27001 on system acceptance testing requires that acceptance testing program and related criteria should be established for new information systems, upgrades, and new version. The user acceptance testing UAT certificates are crucial document that provides evidence of the completion and satisfactory outcome of user testing activities. Chair, move to page 7. The ministry had not provided the UAT for the 6th system on the government service bus that the consultant had marked completed and invoiced government. These, Chair, include Competition and Consumer Protection Services, CCPC, Ministry of Commerce, Seed Control and Certification Services, 15 services, SCCI, that's Ministry of Agriculture, Export, Import, Transit Permit, DAM, that's under Ministry of Agriculture, Water Resource Licensing Services, WAMA, Ministry of Water Development, Collection of Traffic Fines, ZPS, Ministry of Home Affairs, and Travel Passport Services, NRPC, Ministry of Home Affairs. In this regard, it could be ascertained whether the system were meeting the user requirement expectation. Management response, Chair. The auditor's observation is noted. The ministry will avail UATs for all developed systems upon successful testing of the system. The committee may wish to note that the systems are similar in nature, and through the thorough interrogation is done on the workflow to ensure that the digitalized services are representative of the previous manual services. SI number 23 of 2020, SI number 43 of 2023 will also help in ensuring that the service providers play a part in implementing the developed services. Chair, the next query is under item A on page 7. Lack of enterprise risk management framework, ICT risk. COVID EDM 03 ensure risk optimization requires organization to ensure that the enterprise risk appetite and tolerance are understood, articulated, and communicated, and that risk to enterprise value related to the use of IT is identified and managed. Enterprise risk management, ERM, is an essential component in the organization's strategic management. It's in the process of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling the activities of an organization to minimize the effect of risk on an organization. However, the Ministry of Finance did not have ERM for ICT risk in place. Management response. The Auditor General observation has been noted. The committee may wish to know that the ministry is in the process of adopting and adapting its enterprise risk management from the national ERM framework for the year 2024, following its development by the Controller of Internal Audit, Appendix 2, Draft National ERM. Chair. I move to page 8. Item B, Chair, is another audit query. A weakness in the management of service level agreement. Under item B, there is item 1, Chair. Lack of signed service level agreement, SLS, mobile service operators. Treasury and Financial Management Circular number 5 of 2015, which requires MPAs to continue operating transit account in accordance with service level agreement, which will require the banks and service providers to sweep all funds clearing on the revenue transit account to the designated Bank of Zambia account every Tuesday, Friday, and the last working day of every month, and to provide access to account statement via internet banking for officers nominated by the Office of the Accountant General. As at 31st July 2023, the Ministry did not have signed SLAs in place for the two mobile service providers regarding the use of online revenue collection services, Government Service Bus, GSB. Management response, Chair. The auditor's observation is noted. The contract for the two mobile network operators, MTN and Airtel, were cleared by the Attorney General for the parties to sign. However, the mobile network operators' legal teams raised some issues on the commercial clause of the contract after the ministry had already issued the notice of award to the mobile network operators to start offering revenue collection services, hence delaying the signing of the service level agreement for the two operators. Management has, however, reached a consensus with Airtel pending resubmission to and clearance by the Ministry of Justice. Further meetings with MTN have been arranged to clear the pending issues. Chair, item 2 under B, still on page 8, its lack of monthly report. According to section 2.6.14 of the SLA, payment gateway services shall include monthly reporting to the supervisors, the Director of Finance of the concerned MPAs, and the Office of the Accountant General. Such a reporting shall include, but not limited to, bullet 1, number and value of transaction processed through the gateway system, in total broken down by card issuer. Second bullet, number and value of transaction attempted but not approved in the time of the transaction, in total broken down by the reason for rejection. Third bullet, number and value approved transaction subsequently repudiated by the customer, showing those that resulted in chargeback, those still under investigation, and those investigated but not resulting in chargeback. I move, Chair, to page 9. The next bullet there is alert received of unauthorized access to the systems, including date, time of the alert, and the recovery action undertaken. The next bullet, Chair, is the number of support call received by the bank regarding the services in total and broken out by problem severity, and identifying those unable to be resolved within the stipulated time frame and therefore requiring escalation. The last bullet, Chair, on page 9, the number of services outages since the last report in total, with details provided for each outage of the date, time, the level of impact, the action taken to restore services, and the date and time that services was fully restored, and if relevant, emerging security risk and recommended responses. However, there was no evidence of monthly report being submitted by the banks during the period under the review. Management response, Chair. The Ministry has written to the banks and service providers on the payment gateway to request for the submission of reports and shall endeavor to make them available as and when ready. Further, the Ministry notes that with evolving technology, it's now easier to retrieve necessary reports. Thus, the Ministry will endeavor to improve the requirements in the SLAs with the providers on the payment gateway. Chair, the next audit query is lack of reconciliation, still on page 9. According to section 2.6.14 of the SLA, the bank shall directly train or account staff and their supervisors in the correct use of the payment gateway system, including but not limited to reporting and reconciliation. However, it was observed that there was no reconciliation done during the period under review for transactions relating to the banks and the mobile service providers. Management response, Chair. Monthly bank reconciliation between the amounts collected through the mobile service providers were availed to the auditors for verification Appendix 3 is attached, Chair. Bank reconciliation for the total collection through GSB for the period under review for each account were made available to the auditors for verification. That's Appendix 4. Chair, I move to page 10, item C, disaster recovery and the business continuity. Under C, Chair, there is item 1 there, lack of business continuity and disaster recovery plan. The lack of business continuity plans, BCP, and disaster recovery plan, DRP, disaster recovery and the IT continuity planning help institutions prepare for and resume operation in the event of disruption, whether the event might be a power outage, fire, or system failure. COBIT DS 4.2 IT continuity plan require organization to develop IT continuity plans based on a framework that is designed to reduce the impact of a major disruption on key business functions and processes. As at 31st July 2023, the Government Service Bus, GSB, and Payment Gateway did not have a BCP and a DRP in place for the IT system being operated. Therefore, in the event of an incident such as a fire or significant damage to the infrastructure, it's unlikely that the company will be able to resume normal operation for its critical system within a reasonable time period to ensure business continuity. Management response, Chair. The auditor's observation is noted. The draft business continuity and the disaster recovery plan is undergoing editorial review and finalization. Appendix 5 indicate the draft business continuity and disaster recovery plan. Chair, under page 10 again, there is item D, failure to implement a disaster recovery site. According to DSS 04, managed continuity, an organization should establish and maintain a plan to enable the business and the IT to respond to incidents and disruption, to continue operation of critical business processes and required IT services, and maintain availability of information at a level acceptable to the enterprise. According to component C5, infrastructure of the second addendum of the contract between Ministry of Finance and .gov LC, the consultant was supposed to set up the backup and disaster recovery center. However, a review of the documentation revealed that the backup and disaster recovery center were not established by 31st July 2023. Management response, Chair. The auditor's observation is noted. The ministry is currently in the process of procuring the hardware infrastructure for the disaster recovery site. The delay in setting up was due to financial issues. However, these have now been resolved and the procurement process is underway. Chair, I move to page 11. It continues now in terms of the response, Chair, I've just read. That's to item D. In the meantime, several measures have been taken to mitigate the situation. Following the increase in storage for the GSB production environment at Zambia National Data Center, ZNDC, Infratel, an automated daily backup was set up for all 27 systems and 280 services, as well as government payment gateway, ZAMPE, and other platform component. 1 week worth of the latest data is now retained for 4 hours, for 4 weeks. In case of a disaster, the entire ecosystem application and data will be restored within 12 hours. In the absence of a remote disaster recovery site in Roma, Lusaka, and Kitwe, complete backup copies of the GSB, GPG are stored in the Azure cloud under full control of the government through Smart Zambia Institute. Chair and the honorable members of the committee, I submit.
Thank you so much, PS, for that submission. Honorable colleagues will revert back to paragraph 7, and we can question PS on paragraph 7, then we'll proceed to paragraph 16, as it were. The one is just from submitting. Do take note. We can proceed with paragraph 7, as it were, from A, which is budget against actual collection, and also under collection of revenue. So we can proceed to 7. Honorable Lumai.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, PS, for that wonderful submission. Mr. Chairman, head 37, paragraph 7, I want to draw the attention of the PS to A. I want to understand as to whether within their ministries they don't have a projection for their income, let's say from the rent of government premises, proceeds from the sale of motor vehicles. Because, Chair, as you can see from the table provided before the committee, there's completely nothing. But however, it is the assumption of this committee that government is aware that in the year 2024, we are going to undertake this program and we expect some income. But however, in the table provided before this committee, there's nothing provided. So I want to understand whether they do not have those projections going forward. I submit, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daka and Honorable Mkombi.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, the committee would want to find out how realistic your projections are, because you have come before this committee many times that we see that there's never been a time where these projections have ever been made. So we would want to find out how realistic they are. I submit, Chairperson.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, we also note that there was about, I think, 23.6% of revenue undercorrected. Controlling Officer, I want to know what measures your ministry has put in place so that we ensure that all planned activities are met. Chair, I submit.
Thank you. PS, you can proceed and answer those 3 questions.
Thank you, Chair. I will attempt, I think, to answer some of the questions that I'll ask my colleague also to come in. Chair, on the first question, projection in the ministry. Chair, in terms of the project, we are teams that work on the revenues, non-tax and the tax revenues. And what we do, Chair, we gather a lot of information, first past performance, and look at also the assumption. Chair, the difficulties in collecting revenue according to what you've projected, because, you know, the projection or the planning is based on the certain assumptions, something which you believe probably next year this will happen. And if they don't happen, Chair, then you find that these variations are going to be there. But in certain instances, Chair, we also rely information we get from different institutions so that we come up with a realistic estimate. In certain instances, like I can give you an example for dividends. Dividends, Chair, is what the institution declare, and it depends on the decision of the board. The company may make profit quite all right, But at the time when the decision is made by the board. They may look at other information or situation of a particular company. They may declare the dividend, or they may not. In certain instances, they may reduce probably the amount of dividend which is declared, because we don't have a say. But what we do is we engage different companies to see exactly those who are likely to give us the dividend, and we ask them to estimate at least how much do they project in terms of the profit, and how much they'll be able to declare. So on the basis of that, that's the information which we use. You may appreciate, Chair, that some of this information we don't have control over it. We rely on this institution to provide us with that information, which we try to question so that we become realistic. In certain instances, Chair, the company may do very well in terms of performance, and they may declare the dividend. So when it comes to compare with what we projected and what we actually achieved, we find that there is a variance. In certain instances, we may overestimate, but something else has happened. Like probably the company made the losses because of other factors, and we find that the variation varies. So, Chair, it's very difficult, Chair, to say that what we project is exactly what we get. There will always be a variation, or rather a difference in terms of what we project and what we achieve. In terms of, Chair, the system, we don't have a sophisticated system where we say that we are able to project, I think, exactly what you project, what we are going to get. Because some of these projections, Chair, they're based on assumption. You assume that, oh, these things are going to happen, but these, they don't happen, or either just a variation in terms of what you assume, then it's going to affect the outcome of the numbers. In terms of the item B, Chair, I think from Honorable Daka, how realistic are these projections? As I explained, yes, we try to be realistic. In certain instances, when we are engaging in some of these institutions, or within ourselves, we say that, okay, let's look at the past trends. We try to analyze what were the factors, where we did very well, why did we collect more than what we projected. But we also compare in years where we didn't do very well. What are the factors? So what we try to question, then we come up with the realistic numbers. But Chair, I must admit that it's always difficult to predict or to project that exactly what you get is what you are going to, what you plan is what you are going to get. But I understand that probably, reasonably, these variations should not be so much, so that to give some kind of confidence. But it's the difficulty which we have, Chair, because some of these projections sometimes we find probably the information we're getting from these companies. If you look at the interest on loans, these companies have been given the loan by government, which they're supposed to repay. So we engage them, and they tell us the projection that, oh, I think we are anticipating in terms of the payment to be able to pay this amount. In the course of their performance, they face challenges, and they come and report, show us the interim management accounts. We look at how they are performing, and we see that probably they are not going to achieve what we've done. But when we are projecting these numbers, we engage them, but the outcome is not the same as what we projected. So, Chair, this is the difficulty which we have. We endeavor to ensure that at least we are closer to the projection, but sometimes I think we miss. We have seen even in the table, Chair, some numbers we overperform. There be huge variation. So it's a mixture of variation which are negative and which are positive. But we try by all means to minimize, I think, in terms of the variation, so that we are not off what we target. In terms of the other question, Chair, I think it was on the under collection. I think the measures we put in place is try to first to rely on the actual numbers which have come, then also the source of the information. Where are we getting the information we are using as when you are planning and when you are projecting? So from there, we try to simulate. Sometimes we use some models. We've got a modeling department within the unit within the Ministry of Finance. They try to use this information, and that's where the number will come from. But also, after we do that, we also try to question the assumption, because in the model also we use assumption. We use some numbers in terms of actual, but we also use assumption. Suppose this happens, what's going to happen? So on the basis of that, Chair, we use that information and we use the model, and we also try also to engage that past experience has shown us this. Moving forward, what's going to happen? In terms of also information we use is that in the past, sometimes we used to use like revenue collection, used to be manual. Now we are trying, I think, to improve in terms of the collection, because if cash is collected, usually there is that risk that not all the cash will be banked. But this time I think we're trying to improve in terms of payment using online methods, because the human face is not involved, and this person is not going to receive the cash. So that can improve in terms of the revenue collection and give us, I think, the result which we want to have. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daka.
Thank you, Chair.
After Honorable Daka, Honorable Mula can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. PS, I agree with you. In any modeling, there is acceptable deviations. And in your case, what ranges have you given yourself as acceptable deviations with regards to revenue collection? Chair, I submit.
Thank you. Honorable Mwila can proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I just want to ride on the question that Honorable Daka has asked. Chair, on the projected revenues, I have analyzed there are two categories of the sources of these revenues. The first category is from the private citizens. The other category is from the state institutions, you know, the companies owned by the government. And when you look at the performance, as the PS has mentioned, the revenues expected from the private citizens have performed well, because obviously the citizens are compelled. For example, you're passing through the toll gate. There's no negotiation there. You have to pay. If you are running a betting company, there's no negotiation. And these are the ones that we have seen here have surpassed or are close to the expectation, to the plan. But interest and loans from state institutions, dividends, have poorly performed. So my question is, I've heard the explanation from the PS that, you know, the companies, I mean, these institutions go back and explain why things that they had anticipated have not gone as planned. But this is the problem we have with civil service, it's the problem we have with state-owned institutions. Lack of seriousness at planning, and even lack of seriousness at implementation. And it is now showing here. The dividend performance, for example, is very poor, from 1.4 billion to only 25 million. Interest on loans in the same way. The question I have, what measures are taken? Because clearly, whatever the management team or the board concerned with these institutions have poorly performed. Citizens are punished. They are not even allowed to pass with targets. Others are even prosecuted. But what are we doing with these state institutions that are failing to meet their targets? Because they are affecting the general revenue of the nation. And hence the people who suffer are the individuals who are compelled to meet their commissions or to meet their targets and everything else. It's not enough to just sit here and say we accepted the explanations that they gave. What measures are we taking? Because this poor performance cannot go unpunished. Chair, I submit.
Thank you. PS, you can proceed and answer. You have those interventions and questions honorable members would want to know. And also just maybe to add to what the two honorable colleagues have asked is I would like to find out what mechanism you've put in place to ensure that these SOEs on these agreed repayments are done in good time, such that it does not strain the treasury. And also perhaps would want also to find out what are these underperforming, who are these underperforming parastatals or state-owned enterprises who are failing to give us those dividends and also repay these loans as it were. I think that has been I think another line of thought which Honorable Mwila was asking So if anything, like we said yesterday, would want to know these institutions to that effect. PS, you can proceed with those 3 questions on the mechanism which you put in place to ensure that Treasury is not strained by these SOEs. I thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for those questions from Honorable Daka. I think the first one. Acceptable levels. In terms of levels, Chair, we set ourselves is probably not to be outside, I think, the range of plus minus 10% of the total collection, realistically. But Chair, as indicated, it depends, I think, in terms of the information available. Let me give an example for money lenders license. We know how much we charge, let's say for renewal. We know how much it costs for the renewal. We've got a database in this year. This is what you expect, probably maybe so many money lenders are going to pay so much. And on the basis of that, we try to make probably an assumption. Suppose maybe the new lenders come on board. So we analyze, I think, the past trend in terms of how the revenue has been performing. Has there been an increase? So we project, we put that into account. You find that those projections based on the base and also what is tenable, the change in the fees, you can be as closer possible as to your projection, because this is the information I think you are managing as the Minister of Finance, for example. In the case of dividend shares, as explained, we don't run those companies. Those companies, I think, are run. What the government does is to appoint a board, and we give, I think, the mandate to the board to show we are going to run that, give strategic direction for this particular institution. At the end of the day, the company have to perform. If the company don't perform, then we look at probably maybe reappointing the board, because the board also is responsible to appoint management. So if they are not performing, Chair, then something has to be done. So under the Ministry of Finance, Chair, there is now a concern, or rather a strategy, given the concern that most of these parastatals, government has invested money, but the government is not reaping from the investment they've done. So now we are developing a strategy or a policy which now will dictate in terms of how we are going to manage the SOEs. In other words, we need to be tougher in the way we are going to manage them. Part of the strategy, Chair, is to assess also the performance of these parastatal companies. We engaged the International Monetary Fund Institute to train our officers within the Ministry of Finance, and they've given them a system whereby we can be able to assess in terms of how the financial performance of each company is doing. They need to provide information to the Ministry of Finance. Then this information is put in the model. Then we are able to assess if this company is doing well or not, rather than waiting for the company first to perform, then they come and tell us the story that no, we didn't perform whatever. We want to watch them as they are performing, so that we put in measures. We call the board, tell them, I think the direction in which we are going, we are not doing well. What's the matter, so that measures are put in place. So in other words, the Chair will try to strengthen the control of SOEs, so that even getting money from the Treasury now, I think we are very strict. Even for them to get money from the financial system now, is now a requirement that they need to send certain information so that we can assess them. If they are able to get the money from to borrow, do they have the capacity to repay the money? Because eventually the risk is there, because if this money is paid, they'll call back on the Treasury for rescue. So these are some of the measures, Chair, I think as a Treasury we are trying to do, so that the time of just putting money in the parastatal companies, I think, is long gone. Now we are looking forward to try to have a dividend. Chair, when you plant, you expect to at least to harvest. At the time of planting, yes, you are spending money, buy seeds and fertilize, all this, you are spending, but when it's time to harvest, is to have more money. Even for government also, I think it's the same, because some of these companies, parastatal companies, we have supported them. but you can't continue supporting them in perpetuity. So, Chair, I think the issue of the measures we've taken in place, I think these are some of the things we are developing in terms of strategies. Chair, when I go back to the ministry, probably I may send, I think, a copy to the office of the clerk so that you see the policy we have developed regarding asset-owned enterprises. It's not yet full, it's a draft form, so that we see that the ministry is making some effort to ensure that the performance of parastatal companies, I think, is enhanced. In terms of the name, Chair, you asked about the name of these companies. Chair, that's an information which I don't have in details, but I know that one of the performers company where we get, I think, dividends is the Zambia National Building Society. I think on a continuous basis, I think they have been declaring dividends, I think, to a company. It's one of the outstanding performer of the state-owned enterprises. ZCCMH also, from time to time, also they do declare dividends. Bank of Zambia also has been very consistent in terms of declaring dividends. Of the CAF, Chair, these are the companies have been able to declare dividend. Those non-performers, Chair, we can submit differently so that you may have access to this information to know exactly which companies are not performing. I submit, Chair.
Thank you, PS, for that submission. Like we said yesterday, once that is prepared, I'm seeing something here from the Office of the Auditor General. We would want those companies to come and speak for themselves, because as it were, I think it's important, like you've said it, not to overemphasize that when you do an investment, we should know a roadmap. What is their strategy in terms of ensuring that as you support them, they also don't overburden the treasury to that effect, because we've got this laissez-faire attitude in some of the parastatals, but while there are so many hefty packages on all these requirements and entitlements, if we don't streamline that, we'll keep struggling as a country, because instead of channeling those funds to other investments where we can recoup as a country and also better the service delivered to the Zambian people, but we keep putting in this bottomless pits. You are just pushing in money just for people's survival, and you see some people don't even take it so seriously upon themselves, because they know government will fund, I'll get paid, my children will go to school, but what is in it for the government? What is in it for the Zambian people? I think it's important that, honorable colleagues, I don't know if there's an agreement that we can have those to come and also make us understand. Probably we have the board chairperson and the CEO, director finance, to come and just give us the direction of some of those SOEs, so that we understand what they are looking at, even when it comes to support their budgets, because they get grants and other provisions from Ministry of Finance. We know that, yes, it's important for this state-owned enterprise to get some support, like you've intimated about Zambia National Building Society, ZCCMH, that yes, even if they're given money, we know that by the end of the day, government is getting a profit, not where we're just pushing in money minus us as a government getting a benefit. Honorable colleagues, unless any other clarifications on that, we can proceed to C, D, and E. Looking at time, we still have the other things to look at, so you can pick between C, D, and E to ask a question. Honorable Mwamba, you can proceed. Then Honorable Rumai, you go after Honorable Mwamba. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. We have noted that there's a lot of non-compliance with the betting companies, and there's clearly defined laws as to the provision of audited financial accounts. What measures have you put in place to ensure that the betting companies are compliant with the law? Because there also seems to be a laissez-faire type of attitude. There's so much going on with the betting companies, but then still they seem to be let scot-free. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mai.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just in addition to the question by Honorable Mwamba, I think Chair can marry BC because it appears to be the same query on the same betting companies. Mr. Chairman, when you check on Africa Gaming Company, Minister of Finance is just being told by this company that, no, we are not yet operational, but they have not gone on the ground, Mr. Chairman, to know to get information for themselves so that they know whether this company is operational or not. And as submitted by Honorable Mwamba on C, Mr. Chairman, the betting companies are supposed to be paying 175,000 and 75,000 kwacha, and the Minister of Finance is charging them 5,000 kwacha, which is outside the law. So, and they are now pushing to regularize this law so that they are in tandem with these betting companies. So I want to understand, why do we have these inconsistencies from the Minister of Finance towards betting companies? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Honorable Daka, was that your hand? No? PS, you can, okay, Honorable Mkumbi, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. As noted by Honorable Rumai here, they made their own arrangements, management and or administrative arrangements, that these companies begin to pay 5,000. And now in your response, you are saying the ministry has noted the lapse and has stopped charging the 5,000 for branch shops opened until registration is amended accordingly. So have you started the process of amending the law so that we are not in conflict with what is obtaining in the law? Chair, thank you.
Thank you so much. I guess that Honorable Mkumbi's question is coming from C, if I'm not mistaken. And PS, you can proceed and answer the 3 questions from the Honorable members. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, from the question from Honorable Mwamba, in terms of compliance, this is one of the challenges, I think, of dealing with some of the private companies. And also the situation has made difficult from the ministerial point of view, because we are just here in Lusaka. We are not decentralized. And what we are planning as Ministry of Finance is to try to look at other institutions like Ministry of Tourism. They do also monitor casinos. Now, these are similar to gaming, so we are trying to see if we can review these pieces of legislation which are similar, because I know that the Ministry of Tourism, they've got inspectors that visit. In the Ministry of Finance, we don't have, we just send ad hoc officers to go and check, but it's not establishing inspectors. It's an area, Chair, where we need improvement. I think in terms of monitoring, it has been very difficult. And the point by Honorable Mai that do you even go and verify this information? To tell you the truth, I think my officers here probably confirm. We rarely do that. Because, information is submitted, sometimes it can tell you that we are not operating, but maybe underground they are doing that. So it's an area where we need to make, I think, improvement so that we do the monitoring. Only if you have officers, because, Chair, some of these people, they operate in awkward times. But we need, I think, to put in measures. And we're trying, I think, to rationalize in terms of revenue collection. We, I think, probably maybe from Ministry of Finance, can we go to establish the institution? The way Chair has submitted that some of these money lenders will now be done by the judiciary. The Secretary to the Treasury has already agreed that is going to ensure that the judiciary collects, because they are found in district and the localities. Rather than asking, I think, those who want to operate, I think, to ask them to come to Lusaka and get the certificate from Ministry of Finance, it's very expensive. So we need to reduce that kind of, I think, suffering, so that we decentralize. We look at the institution which are able to do it better because they are found in the localities, so that they can do a good job. So it's an area where we need to make improvement, Chair, as you are reviewing, in terms of, I think, starting the process, I think I'll ask my colleague just to confirm. I know that we've discussed it in the ministry, but in terms of the actual process, let me ask the Director of Revenue Management to confirm.
QPS Director can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Through the PS, I think the process has started. There's a interministerial committee that has started sitting to review the operations in the betting industry, and a document has been submitted to Cabinet, but there was a response from Cabinet. They wanted the committee to come up with guidelines first before they can proceed with the policy. They had done a policy to Cabinet, so it was pushed back to that technical committee to come up with guidelines so that probably when it is approved at the Cabinet, they can start the registration process. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. PS, you can proceed.
Just to confirm, I think on the 5,000 kwacha, Chair, yeah, this is the. When we review this issue, we ask, I think, within the Ministry of Finance, is there any law supporting this 5,000 kwacha? And then, Chair, as we presented in the response, this is charged for these extra betting places where these companies they operate from. So the initiative, I think, for the ministry said that no, they just get one license, they pay, but they've opened in many outlets. How do we get maybe extra revenues? So now we ask that no, but what is the basis for this 5,000 kwacha? Is it supported by a law or a certain instrument, or there is maybe a circular? This could not be seen. Chair, we realize that I think we can be challenged and we need to stop. Until when we put our eyes in order, we come up with appropriate legislation. At the moment, I think first we need to do the policy, because the requirement now from Cabinet, first we go, a policy which gives direction. Then from the policy, we develop now the legislation to support now that particular policy. So, Chair, this is the route we have taken to sort out this particular issue. I submit.
Thank you, PS. Honorable Daka.
Thank you, Chair. PS, I will take you to the loss of revenue from the money lenders. Take you to money lenders. I will move from the betting companies. PS, we, as a committee, we take note that you have indicated to the committee that they will be considered, these money lenders will be considered in phase 3 of the implementation of the government service bus. However, there's already loss of revenue amounting to 4 million kwacha. The committee is at pain, PS, we cannot even hide you. However, this committee would want to know how you are going to recover this uncollected revenue amounting to 4 million kwacha, just to give us assurance that this money will be collected. Chairperson, I submit.
Thank you. Honorable Wamnyuma, and then Honorable Lumai. Thank you.
Chair, I was just going through this. 776, out of 776 money lenders, only 373 have certificates with the Ministry of Finance. Now, there's been loss of revenue with these money lenders. I just want to understand through the controlling officer that he's submitted that they want to make the judiciary as an agent of the ministry. Now, is this the best solution, controlling officer, to make the judiciary your agent for you to collect revenue? Where are you drawing this practice? That because I think you must devise a mechanism which will promote, first of all, transparency, and secondly, it will not create ambiguity on government creating on. It's different when the council is collecting for the Minister of Finance, but to appoint the judiciary as an agent of the minister. Where are you drawing this kind of practice?
Thank you, Honorable Daka. Oh, sorry, that was Honorable Lumai. Adon, okay, proceed then, Honorable Lumai, you come.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to add on what my honorable colleague has already alluded to, Honorable Wamnyima. Chair, in case of any failures by the judiciary to remit this revenue to the ministry, I mean, how in terms of how are you going to handle it? Because I believe the judiciary handles the courts of laws. And when there's any dispute whatsoever, that's where we all rush to. So in case of the judiciary failing or finding themselves in default, how are we going to manage that kind of scenario? Which courts of laws are we going to go to? Because they manage the court of law, and that's the last resolution to any citizens or any institution. We have to go to court. So in case of any default, how do you intend to sort out these problems? I submit, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Lumai.
Mr. Chairman, I hope the PS will agree with me that, Mr. Chairman, this committee 3 years ago, we submitted that councils countrywide can help Minister of Finance in the collection of revenue from these betting companies. And, Chair, we were told that the ministry will consider. I want to know what has made them delay to engage councils, because councils are all over the countries. Secondly, Mr. Chairman, this committee has noted that Minister of Finance has allowed financial leakages to continue in the system. What has made the Minister of Finance take so long to come up with legislations to close these financial leakages? I submit, Mr. Chairperson.
Thank you. Just guidance, honorable colleagues. After those questions, I will have one question from F and G, then we can wind up this session because of time. PS, you can proceed and answer those questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. From the issue where are we drawing the power to appoint the judiciary, I think, to collect revenue. Chair, you may be aware that government looks at the institutions that are placed at a certain point where revenue is collected. I'll give one example. Is the RATSA, who collects these road user charges, have had an engagement, or rather an arrangement, where ZRA, who are found all over the country and who are found out at the border, collect these revenues on behalf of RATSA because of their presence. And, Chair, this is an aspect of looking at the cost of collecting revenue, because sometimes you may spend a lot of money collecting revenue, but you find that what you are collecting actually is less than what you are spending. So you look at the strategy in terms of how do you collect this revenue, and which institution probably is present there where you can sign a memorandum of understanding and collect on behalf of government. Chair, we have done that even before. In the Ministry of Finance, at one point, we gave the responsibility of the council to collect the revenue on behalf of government. But the problem which we had, Chair, is that that time I think the councils had a lot of financial problems. And we found that the money actually they were collecting, they were not remitting to the Ministry of Finance. So once beaten, twice shy. But we are not saying that we cannot go back to them, but with the reform that are taking place with the councils, I think government has made an effort to try to provide extra resources through different, I think, option, equalization funds, which were not there before. So we have seen, I think, the councils now having resources which they are able now to use. And the temptation probably may be, Chair, of getting the extra money from government. Maybe it will be removed, but it's an issue which we can't divorce ourselves, but because they are better placed. If they are revenue which government need to collect in those countries, I think that option can still be looked at. But in terms of the aspect of the betting, the judiciary, Chair, they collect also non-tax revenues where they are. And we thought because some of these licenses are issued by the courts, and the courts, they sit under the judiciary. So we believe that they'll be better placed to receive the revenues, and they account for it just as they are accounting for the other revenues. Then you also, Chair, the other aspect is try to resolve the people we are saving, the Zambian people who are those localities. Because at the moment, they have to come to Lusaka to get the license, or when they pay the money through mobile money, they need to submit that information electronically. Some of them, they don't have those facilities to submit the information. So we are looking at also the practicality. How do you remove the burden from those people, especially in the rural areas, for them to give that? So if at least the system is found that the courts where they can go and get those licenses and they're able to pay there and be issued, will save them in terms of the extra cost they need to spend instead of coming to Lusaka, but also will ensure that there is a collection of revenue and the money is accounted for, because as you are applying for your license, is being issued. You also make sure that we have already made the payment. So in that way, the reconciliation in the chair will be much easier. I think that's why we opted that no, let's use a government institution. The judiciary, they receive the money from the treasury. They are collecting in their other revenues. So we believe we tried them to see how the system works, Chair. But also where we are moving, they will come on the government service bus. So all this payment, mobile money and whatever, they will facilitate so that money is collected, accounted for. And at the end of the day, I think we improve the revenue collection and remove some of the leakages, which the other members, I think, have mentioned. In terms of the loss of money, Chair, I can just say that it's regrettable in terms of the money which we can't collect now. How are we going to move forward? So I'll plead with other members that with the measures we are putting in place, we'll try to avoid, I think, what we've passed. I think we can only learn lessons from the past and try to make improvement. I think we are moving forward. And government, I think, is developed through this initiative, innovation, I think we are trying to implement, is try to safeguard. At all cost, Chair, we are trying to remove human being getting cash. I think with this innovation now where we can pay electronically, we are on the phone. Chair, in the past, when you want to send money even to the village, we have to rely on the post office. But now it's instant. 10 seconds, I send money to the village and they've received. So I think that's what we want to do. I think improve in terms of the strategy by Ministry of Finance and financial inclusion, coming up with this system whereby people can be able to pay. We find necessary in coming to central places where they need to spend extra money. I think, Chair, that's the direction. Yes, it's a loss. We regret for that, and we've lessened. But moving forward, Chair, we want to improve, have these control systems put in place, and also ensure that also the audit function also is very prominent. We've been working with the control of internal audit to ensure that our auditors are some of these institutions, so that they can also prevent some of these loss of revenues also from happening. Chair, I think that's what I can submit for now to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mukumbi, Honorable Wamnyima. F and G.
Thank you, Chair.
Follow up, then Honorable Mwila.
Thank you, Chair. On F, controlling officer, we have noted that 34 government houses were sold in 2022. Chair, I want to know under whose authority were these houses sold for a fee of 722. Since you also even failed to form an inspection committee, which you are saying it was your responsibility, but that of the Minister of Infrastructure. So under whose authority were these houses sold? Because at the time of the audit, there was no cabinet authority presented to the auditors. Chair, submit.
Thank you, Honorable Wamnyima.
Chair, as I am going to G,
Yes.
I just want to put it on record that the judiciary collecting revenue, there's no separation of powers. It's like us asking the executive to also legislate. The judiciary is there to interpret law, and PS, I know that it is a challenge but I think the districts are the council's chair are in all the districts. In Nalolo district, there is no court where you can. So what I would propose, Chair, as I go to G's, let the Minister of Finance look at working with councils. Because if a dispute would emanate from that with the judiciary, then you take the same judiciary to court. You know, so it's a conflict, and that is why the doctrine of separation of powers would demand, in the normal sense, that even the Attorney General should not approve a situation where the judiciary gets involved into revenue collection. Now, Chair, on G, we note irregularities in the disposal of motor vehicles, and my concern is that there are disparities in terms of figures on delivery notes and receipts. Why are there these disparities in these delivery notes? And this unaccounted revenue of 82,000, what is the position? I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Mwila, can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to add my thoughts on F regarding the sale of these poor houses. I note the findings from the auditors quoting the authorities, the guidelines and the procedure that should have been followed. Firstly, to constitute the inspection committee, and also to get cabinet authority, both of which were not available, but the ministry went ahead to dispose of these houses. Why? That's my question. Why did the ministry proceed with what I would term an illegality without following the procedure as provided? I noticed the response is not also addressing even the concerns that have been raised, because there's a shift of the blame to another ministry. But given that this other ministry did not do its part, why was the rush to proceed with the sale when things were not in place to follow the regulations? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, honorable colleagues. PS, there are those pertinent questions from the honorable colleagues. You can proceed and answer the questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Maybe coming to the question by the honorable member regarding using the council. As I said, Chair, the judiciary at the moment, they've been collecting, it's not only now, but in the past, they collect court fees. So we'll try to consult, I think, the Minister of Justice to see maybe if this issue, we can give it to the council, maybe rather the judiciary. We'll consult Chair to see exactly how we proceed. But to assure you that at the moment, the judiciary actually, they collect non-tax revenue, which they remit, and it's accounted for. And we believe, Chair, rather than having two institutions, first you go to the council, they issue that, then you go to the judiciary, whatever. It's an extra cost, but we engage and we get, I think, maybe advice so that together we can find a solution that will work. But we'll take, I think, the concern, I think, from another member of this committee so that we find a solution moving forward. Chair, in terms of the aspect of the disposal of the motor vehicles, my colleague, I think, Director Revenue Management, to come in. The issue, Chair, is that when you do an auction, we received bids from the bidders. Then when you receive the bids from the bidders, a note is given to, so that you bid for these particular, if it's item, 5 items, and the total cost of these items is so much. And that record is kept. Now, when this bidder now comes to come and pay for those items, we found that, I think, the practice that they change their mind. I think that some people anticipate probably, no, I'm going to bid so that I get this particular, let's say, for motor vehicles. We find probably maybe that person doesn't have enough money. He may abandon that particular item, just get for few items. But on one record, you are saying that this person bid for 5 items and he got a note from the auctioneer, oh, you go and pay for these particular items. But when it comes to come to the cashier and to pay for these items, he only paid for 3 items or 2 items. So there is a gap which is created because one document to show that it's 5 items worth so much, the other one showing that only so much was paid for. So there is that disparity now in terms of reconciling the two documents. And that's why in your response you are saying that no, if we discover that you bid for 5 items worth 100,000 kwacha, but you want to come and pay now for these items, just isolate 2, 3 items for this, we are trying to say that, okay, you go back to the auctioneer, get another note so that when you are ready to pay, so that if you pay for 50,000 kwacha, then those are the ones who reflect on one document so that there is no disparity between the two documents. So it's an issue, Chair, which we thought probably moving forward, we need to deal with it so that we don't give ourselves work now, because we need to do a reconciliation now. Look at, oh, this guy or this particular person bid for these items worth so much. Now when it comes to payment, there is a cap. Where are these particular items? Oh, now we need to have, I think, a different set of information. So, Chair, we've learned our lesson that moving forward now, we demand that if you are given a note that you have changed your mind in terms of the items you want to buy, then you go back to the auctioneer, they cancel that particular note, give you for those specific items where you want to buy now, so that the amount reflects on the note coming from the auctioneer is the same what the cashier also is going to receive, so that there are no disparities. Regarding, Chair, the sale of government houses, Chair, I think authority, I remember, was given by Cabinet. That's how we proceeded to go with the sale of houses. Now, the Minister of Finance was not responsible for this. The Minister of Works and Supply, I think, were given the responsibility to process. And what we did, Chair, was one of the persons who also benefited from that time when I was still a young civil servant. And what we did is, first you go to the Minister of Works and Supply, you are given the offer letter, and you go through the processes, the diagram, and once you are given the offer letter, that's when you rush to go and make a payment to Minister of Finance. The Minister of Finance was responsible just to account for the money received. But in terms of the processes, were done by the Minister of Works and Supply, because the Minister of Finance doesn't have the capacity to even make an evaluation. And Chair, if you look at the book, how do you call the handbook? The formation of the committee was by the Ministry of Works and Supply, and it lists there the members who were supposed to be on that committee. The chair, I think, was supposed to be director of evaluation and also other officers. So the Ministry of Finance chair was not even in that committee. It wasn't even responsible to create that committee. I think that's why we have a misunderstanding with the auditors. In terms of our interest, when money now is sold, it comes now with the responsibility of the treasury, because the treasury has to receive those monies. In terms of assets, yes, those assets also belong to the treasury. But in terms of responsibility to make sure that those assets, they change hands, then the money comes to the treasury, yes, we come in and we're supposed to work as one government. I think I accept that. But in terms of this specific responsibility, Chair, we don't want also to encroach into other ministries' responsibilities. Otherwise, we create confusion. But to tell you the truth, I think...
Point of order, Chair.
Yes, Honorable Mkumbi. PS, you can switch off the mic.
Chair, the controlling officer is saying, I think Treasury Authority was in place. I've gone through the document. The actual is not there. I think there's only a letter from Secretary of the Treasury informing Ministry of Infrastructure to respond. That is all is there. Is it in order, Chair, to be saying, well, it is there or it was there when it is not there, when it's not submitted to the committee, Chair?
Thank you, Honorable Mkumbi. Yes, please clarify, as you are a veteran and you're aware that we don't speculate, but we look at actual evidence. Maybe you can clarify on that point. Thank you.
Chair, why I say that is that obviously it's also a question of speculation that the sale was not done by the Ministry of Finance. So in terms of authority, I think it was not supposed to come from. That's why I say that in terms of the sale, this was supposed to be undertaken by the Ministry of Works and Supply. And we know that there was a process which was supposed to be followed. Cabinet Office is supposed to be involved because other houses were sold. So in terms of authority being submitted, I think, the document, Chair, because it's not the Ministry of Finance that sold. The Ministry of Finance just received the revenues from the sale. I think that's where I'm coming from. It's not the intention, Chair, to mislead the committee, but it's something which we can liaise, I think, with the Ministry of Works and Supply now in solution and the Ministry of Infrastructure, so that we can get now that actual authority. I think that's what I meant, Chair. So that I think the committee can satisfy themselves that the authority was granted. But I was looking at the general, I think, government policy when it comes to sale of houses. I think it was there, but there was a process which is supposed to be followed, so that from the time when the sale is done, then all the processes have been fulfilled and requirement. That's what I meant, Chair. Apologies for that.
Thank you, PS. Honorable Amnyama.
Chair, just clarity. Who sold the houses?
Thank you. PS, you can clarify. I think I heard Works and Supply, but you can proceed.
Chair, that time I think it's the Ministry of Works and Supply in the solution now. It's part of the Ministry of Infrastructure and Housing now under the new ministry. As I've been, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Honorable colleagues, we make progress. Honorable Lungu, is it on the same issue or it's on something else? Because we are running out of time now. You can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I wanted to ask on the issue of vehicles.
You can proceed and ask, then we close that.
Thank you, Chair. PS, you submitted that the bidders, when they bid, then they don't pay what they have bidded. What measures are you going to put in place so that before they bid or they deposit a certain amount of monies, so that in case they fail, that money should be forfeited? Thank you.
Thank you. PS, you can quickly... yes, Honorable.
The unaccounted revenue. What is the status on the one for 82,516?
Thank you. PS, you can answer those two questions, then we can make progress.
Chair, maybe I'll talk about the measures that my colleague probably will look at. The accounted for revenue, Director Revenue Management. Chair, in terms of moving forward, I think this is a difficult issue. When you do an auction, and these people, they don't commit to what... I was also thinking, I think individually, that, there must be some form of maybe penalties. How do we ensure that you make a bid for item, then later on you change your mind? Because also it's extra work now for government, because if those items are not sold, then we have to restart the process. By the time we even do it, those items could have even lost value, and they could even be lost so we must find, I think, a mechanism. So, Chair, is something I discussed with my colleagues that probably we need to introduce, but I need to consult, Chair, with the expert to see exactly if we can introduce a measure that probably maybe there is a specific deposit. If you change your mind, then that money comes to government so that we can, because it's expensive to undertake an auction, Chair. So it's a proposal, Chair, which I think from the honourable members, which we consider definitely, because it's a repetition, Chair. If you look at different cases, they bid higher. When it comes to can you pay, they don't pay now. And what we do actually, we lose out at government, because by the time we do the next auction, there could even be maybe a lower value. Maybe the motor vehicle will be worth 200,000 kwacha. We may sell it even at the 100,000 kwacha. So I think it's an issue which we need to consider. Probably we review the way we do the auctioning so that we make that commitment. Chair, in the contract, we always put the contractor under the responsibility that if you put in a bid, there is a bid sum which you need to leave with government so that you don't change your mind. Yeah, because midway you can say that no, I'm not going to sign the contract. So there is that, I think, attachment which probably can induce when it comes to maybe a minimum amount so that we deter people who are not serious to just bid for the sake of bidding. As I'm in Chair. Let me ask the Director of Revenue Management to answer the other component.
Director Revenue, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair, through the PS. I think they are accounted for revenue. We have an attachment at an Appendix 4, which shows the receipts that were deposited on 2 different dates for that amount. It's on Appendix 4. So these items were assorted items. So there were a lot of small items, but the deposits were made at two different deposit slips. On the 22nd, there was a deposit, and on the 24th, the deposit slips are attached. Submit, Chair.
Honorable Daka, you have a burning question. Can you? We are running out of time.
Sorry, Chair. Yesterday, the Vice Chairperson raised an issue, a preliminary issue on receipting. We have a receipt under the same annexure that he has referred to, where the amount in words and figures are different. And there was no reaction to that effect, Chair. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Director Rivian, can you clarify on that receipt on your appendix, which has got different figures? The figure and the writing, the words in writing are not corresponding. You can proceed.
Thank you, Chair, and through the PS. I think I reviewed the receipts after that submission from the Vice Chair, and I noted that there are two receipts. One is for 5,000, another one is for 5,900, which makes 10,900. And if you look at the receipts, they are not, the weights are corresponding with the amounts. So there was no disparity between the weights and the amounts.
Okay, let's look at the receipt quickly. From that's paragraph 7. So let's go to appendix 5, paragraph 7. Appendix what?
5.
5. Okay. So there's one for 5,900. 5,000 only, okay. Then there's one for 5,000, which is also 5,000. Adam Chanda, is it Chanda? So there are two receipts. There's one for 5,000 and it's written 5,000 only. And there's one for 5,900, but it's written 5,000 only. Clarify, Director.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think I need to. I think there was when the cashier wrote, I think there was a 5,000 which was written. So initially, so she altered that to write 5,900. So maybe the mistake could have been that they didn't change on the words. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Progress. Let's proceed to paragraph 16 now. Paragraph 16, honorable colleagues. Honorable Mukumbi, you can proceed.
Chair, I guess we are going on operating a certification authority without a license. We start from there. Thank you, Chair. Controlling Officer, in your response, you are saying there has been no statutory instrument to operationalize this provision. That is on the ECT Act number 4 of 2021. So there has been no provision from 2021. Chair, I want to find out from the ministry why it has taken them 3 years to operationalize this act. What is so difficult in coming up with an SI so that we have protection in whatever we are doing? Chair, I submit.
Thank you. Honorable Mwamba, then Honorable Lumai.
Thank you, Chairperson. Looking at the contract with a total contract sum of 16,410,047. We have been given those amounts in dollars. Then coming to payment, we are just lumped with a kwacha payment. We are aware that the dollar is volatile, but it would also, since you paid in kwacha, there's dollar as well, it would have also been ideal that we have both the figures, the dollar figure as well as the kwacha figure, so that we also note, you know, how much should have been paid initially when the contract was signed, and how much has finally been paid. Do you note the question, Controlling Officer? Yes. So I wanted to find out why we also have not been given, alongside the US dollars, the kwacha figures, so that we look at the variance between the time period of signing and the time period of paying. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, honorable colleagues. As we proceed, indicate if you are on operating a certification authority license, as it were, so that we can follow, and we also guide so that we don't go back and forth. Thank you. Honorable Luma, you can proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Arising from your guidance, Mr. Chairman, the document before us, head 37, it is Ministry of Finance acquiring the services of .gv Solutions. And Mr. Chairman, when you go through this report, there are serious issues arising from the operations of the same system. So for the sake of the public, I thought maybe the controlling officer can help the committee to understand in the first place how .gv Solutions was identified and what necessitated Ministry of Finance to go for these services, so that as we now interrogate the report, we are speaking from the informed position. Mr. Chairperson, allow me to submit.
Thank you. PS, you can proceed and answer the 3 questions from the honorable members.
Thank you, Chair. I think I've got Director ICT who will be able to answer. These are technical questions, Chair.
Thank you, Director ICT. You can proceed and answer those questions.
Thank you so much, Chair. The first question talks about the public key infrastructure, which is PKI. And we are being asked as why we are operating without the certificate. I think that's the question. We need to mention, Chair, that the public key infrastructure falls under different institutions, but the mandate falls squarely under ZICTA. This is a layer of security that ensures that a public, when he wants to access the government system, he is checked whether he's a real person or is a robot. It's a layer. So where are you checked from? Where your IDs are, under Ministry of Home Affairs. Where other areas are, if you're a company, you have to be checked under PACA that you really exist as a company and you are able to deal with this. So from year number 1 of the GSP, we envisioned that we needed to implement this layer of security. But unfortunately, the mandate didn't fall squarely on us. It falls on ZICTA. So we requested that ZICTA should implement this, but it was not being implemented until now, when ZICTA have started the procurement process to implement this national PKI. However, in order for us to secure the government
Before you proceed, Director ICT, when ZICTA didn't implement this, or the certification authority licensing, did you as Ministry of Finance, or if you're coming from Smart Zambia, raise a flag to say this is an issue? I think ZICTA needs to ensure that this is implemented.
Chair, we did, And through Smart Zambia, of course, we did, because Smart Zambia is the one that is in charge of the technology. So we did write to them, and Smart Zambia did reply. We have a letter from Smart Zambia where they said, in the absence of the SI, or in the absence of the guidelines, I think it's very important for us to look at the international practices that are there, best practices that are there. But however, Smart Zambia guided through this letter that very soon the guidelines will be provided, and also the IT standards will be provided, so that we are able to implement this layer of security.
So you seem to be the only one with that letter. Mr. Amrud, you can get the letter, and let's have copies for the honorable members to appreciate. You can proceed, Director ICT, with the other questions.
The other questions which talk about how much payments in Kwacha, I think the people that handle payments is the revenue. Maybe they can help out, and why we didn't show the Kwacha payments. We are on the technology side.
Thank you. PS, where's the Accountant General?
Chair, I think when it comes to the payment, I think it's the information we can provide, because what we do is that although the contract was in US dollars, you pay the Kwacha, but as per the term of the contract, you also the equivalent in US dollars. So what you pay in Kwacha, but in terms of the remittances, they'll go into US dollars. But maybe in our presentation, we should have indicated, I think, a comparison, as the honorable member of parliament, I think, and the member of the committee, I think, has requested. Probably maybe we show the dollar sign and also the Kwacha sign. Because these were in phases, and you could only kick in after the contract had delivered. That's when you make that payment. So although the contract amount were shown, but these were being paid at a different time. But we can provide extra information just to show the payment made and what was the equivalent, so that we, at the end of the day, we can reconcile the contract amount in US dollars and what we paid in Kwacha. Obviously, yes, the exchange rate were different because these were being paid at different times. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. PS, do you have anybody from ZICTA? Have you come with anybody from ZICTA?
No, Chair, we haven't, because ZICTA, they are the regulator, so it's only Ministry of Finance and from Smart Zambia.
Yeah, because what I'm saying, so PS is the ones who are supposed to implement that is ZICTA. Okay? And I don't know what's supposed to pay, because your submission from the Director ICT saying ZICTA now procurement is underway for the aforesaid system you're talking about, to ensure that we have that layer is talking about. So for us, we want to know who was its responsibility. Was it ZICTA? Was it Smart Zambia? Who was responsible for that implementation? That's why in my earlier question to the Director ICT, I asked who was supposed to implement. Is the person who's supposed to answer before this honorable committee and tell us why they did not implement to that effect. I think PS, the question is emanating from that aspect, because we need clarity. This has been raised as a query, and we need a person. Why did they delay to implement? Was it issues of funds? What were the issues? So that we want to ensure that when all those things are being done, the government is protected, as it were, in terms of security of all these platforms. I think that's why I'm coming from. So if ZICTA is involved, would like ZICTA to answer. Honorable Lumai, you can proceed.
Mr. Chairman, my question has not yet been attended to. So I don't know, maybe you are waiting for the chairman, or you are now coming to my question. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We can allow him to proceed.
Thank you. Director ICT can proceed, and also PS take that into consideration, the issue of ZICTA. You can proceed.
Thank you so much, Chair. If I got the question well, from the honorable member here is that there are operational issues with the system, first of all. The second thing is that you want to understand why .gov was engaged. Did I get it right? Or how?
Mr. Chairman, I was saying, because we are interrogating a system. So what I was saying was, what necessitated you as Minister of Finance to go for these services, and also how was .gov solutions identified? Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. I think now it's more clearer. Maybe we can proceed now.
This is a very pertinent question. What necessitated? Why did the ministry decide to go for this system? It's because as a country, for a long time, we have operated as a manual and paper-based government. This has not brought any efficiency in at all. We have seen that wherever services for government are being provided, they are queues, and citizens are getting frustrated, including institutions, because they have money to pay for government services, but they can't make payments because frustrations of queues and the cost of doing that business is very high. So ultimately, some they default, some they try, but with difficulties to get what they want to get. So as a government, we thought we need to change the way we interact with the citizens and also with businesses. And therefore, the Ministry of Finance, working together with Smart Zambia, thought they need to come up with a system that is going to meet these three key stakeholders: the citizen, the business, and also the government itself, to make it efficient. That's how they came up with this. They acquired this system, which has got three major components. One of them is the portal, which we call the ZAM portal. This is the one which exposes all government services that are being offered online. You will find them there. There are over 200 services that are being provided there from various institutions. So the citizens are able to go to that portal and they are able to interact with the government without making any unnecessary movement. They are able to pay their ground rents from the comfort of their home. They are able to pay for road tax from the comfort of their home. They are able to register cooperatives from the comfort of their home, using that national portal, which is a ZAM portal. So that gives an advantage, and it provides an easy way of doing business with government, which is cheaper. So that is from the citizen side. But also the private sector was isolated from government. Banks were on their own, not connected to government. So now, with this project, banks are connected to the government through what we call the ZamPay. It is a component of the ZamPay. If you Google ZamPay, you'll be able to access and see how many banks are connected to this government, and the payment options that they offer. Some they offer card payment, some they offer online payment, internet banking, and so on. They are all there. The mobile operators are all there. So the private sector now is connected to government. What of us within government? What efficiency does this system bring? You will realize that for a long time, our traditional way of working is you report at 8 hours and you knock off at 5 o'clock. That's it. So the files that you leave in your tray, you access them again tomorrow morning. What does this system bring to change in the way government operates? It brings your office now is accessible on your phone. Your office is now accessible on your laptop. We are providing digital titles, right, using phones and using laptops, using the ZAM sign, which has been talked about. Executive officers in various institutions are able to digitally sign for various output documents, such as certificate for the cooperative, certificate for clubs under the Register of Societies, PACRA, they're able to provide the certificate of incorporation online. Ministry of Lands, they're able to provide certificate of titles online. So just to give a scenario, one time with the Commission of Lands, she was outside the country, but she was able to access her office and she was able to look at the files that are assigned to her and be able to work. She was able to sign them. So it reduces that, it removes away your 8 to 5 o'clock kind of working. It gives you a 24 hours access. So these are some of the advantages which are there. But also, the bigger ones are that face-to-face interaction is not there
Thank you,
anymore.
Director. Thank you. I'll love to cut you. We've gotten your submission.
Thank you.
You can switch off the mic, Honorable Daka.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, it's not the first time. Anyway, I want to take the controlling officer to underutilize developed services. Chair, it's not the first time we are receiving a submission from the Minister of Finance on a similar item. You remember the CBU issue under ZRA. Government paid CBU a lot of money for the services that you never even used. It's not the first time, and this is repeating itself. So why is it that there's this tendency in your ministry where you want to acquire services that you know very well you won't even fully utilize them? Controlling officer, why first of all, and what interventions have you put in place to ensure that we put such type of an attitude or a trend to a stop? I submit, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Mnyima and Honorable Mwila.
And Chair, why has the ministry been making full payments to this vendor, despite you not being ready with the prerequisites such as INRIS, to fully operationalize, Why have you been making full payments? Is there any special interest to this effect?
Thank you. Honorable Mwila can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. My first and simple question is, first of all, to find out if this whole amount has been paid, the 16.4 million, if it has been paid to .gov. Secondly, yes, $16.4 million. Secondly, my overall comment, Chair, this project is now 4 years since July 2019. So I wanted to find out, because I think all my questions are around what was the intention in terms of the time frame from 2019. When was it supposed to be fully executed by the consultant? One. And all the related government institutions and departments to uptake the service. Because what I have seen in here is some of the modules have been completed, but the relevant department is not willing or has not fully operationalized. Even the Ministry of Finance itself is a culprit in here, because they have not issued the certificates of test certificate to confirm that this module, which has been completed, we are satisfied with it, we are okay and good to go. It seems this project is timeless. When was it supposed to be completed, and that every department that is incorporated, every module operationalized? Because it's 4 years down the line, and we're still talking about training for some police officers to start using it, some modules completed not being used, some modules not even completed as we are now. So what is the scope of its implementation? I thank you, Chair.
Thank you. PS, you can proceed. If anything, you can delegate the questions. I think I'll ask my questions after those have been addressed. You can proceed.
Yeah, Chair, I will provide some initial comment, then my colleague also will come in. In terms of the amount paid, Chair, we need to go back to the ministry to find out in terms of the total amount, because these were being paid in phases as per delivery, per contract. We signed the contract, and after delivery, then the payment. The payment, Chair, were made according to the terms of the contract. I don't have the contract here, Chair, to know these terms, but we followed the contract in terms of the payment. Now, in terms of the project itself, generally, this is not a project, Chair, time limit so that you do the project and do it. I think as we've indicated, it's supposed to be done in phases because ultimately all government services are supposed to come on board online. I think that was the ultimate objective. Now, there are certain services we started with in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. As we are moving forward, until all these services, I think, are put together, they come on board, so that all government system in terms of providing the services, collection of the revenues, Chair, because it's a pathway to digitalization of all the government system. Remember, Chair, I was mentioning about question of payment. We've had the issues in terms of officers handling cash. You find that what they receive and what they deposit will always be a gap. It's an issue which we'll be dealing with. But with this system now, all the payment now have to be done using the different platform. No officer is supposed to receive any money. You just do the transaction, then the banks are involved, then from there, then the money is swept in Control 99, and government has the revenue. In the past, the bank sometimes could hold on to the money before they transfer, and we had all these issues, I think, we went through that process. But with this process, Chair, is to move away from manual processing to digital processing so that there is security, I think, in terms of handling of cash. I think from the risk point of view, no one is going to see cash being handled now in terms of receipt. Or what you do is just use your phone, you transact, or you use the mobile money. There are all these platforms which come on board so that the revenue is collected. So let me ask my colleague to come in, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Wamnyima. Is that...
Chair, just on the submission, thank you, PS, for submission. But, Chair, there is no project without a time frame. Then it ceases to be a project. A project is time, cost, quality. But the PS is submitting that it has no time. It was just supposed... So, you see, PS, you need to give this committee this time frame because payments have been made in full. The system is not fully operational. So this is potentially wasteful expenditure. So give us time and just be clear why full payments are being made, yet the prerequisites are not being met. The committee is laboring, Chair, to understand.
Thank you. Honorable, you can proceed, even introduce yourself.
Thank you very much, Chair, PS and your team, and for those who have just come, who came today. My name is Alikando Mufalali, nominated Member of Parliament and member of the Public Accounts Committee. Chair, I'm seated here listening very, very attentively. We are not disputing the benefits of all these systems that they are promoting. We are not disputing that. But the question is, the questions are not being answered accordingly. I think what we are asking is, in other instances, there is no utilization. People were rolling out a system, and the system, let's give an example, I think, where Honorable Mwila was talking about the police. You are giving a system to the police, but you have not even prepared the police for the system. So what are the benefits of having a system? You pay all these colossal sums of money, and then only to do 2 transactions on the system that has been paid with a lot of money. And then the answer that is being given is that, no, they have not been trained. Why? When the whole system was being procured, at the procurement stage, that's the time all these other organizations should have swung into action to ensure that they train enough staff to use this system. Otherwise, then the value of the whole system falls away. I think, Chair, they let them answer to why question, not the benefits of these systems. Yes, all the benefits they are telling us, they are very good and they are sounding sweet. But the issue at hand is, why are these systems not being utilized properly or fully? I think these are some of the questions that are arising. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Mfalari. PS, those questions are loud and clear. You can proceed and answer them because it entails that we've done a huge investment, but we are underutilizing it. I think it's the same question on low utilization of mobile enforcement application. It's the same thing. You keep buying mobile phones, but this application is not being utilized. So I think you can also combine with 4 to just harmonize that and answer the questions. Thank you. PS, you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I think when I was answering the question, I said that I will answer it partly, then my colleague will also come from the ICT. Let me ask the Director ICT, I think, to answer, Chair.
Director ICT can proceed and answer those questions adequately. Thank you. You can proceed.
Let me attempt, Chair, to answer adequately the questions that have been asked. The first one is on law utilization. Maybe we should also look at the institutions that have got high utilizations. What have they done differently from other institutions that have done low utilization? We have institutions like PACRA, Registrar of Societies, RATSA, that were able to meet their yearly target in the first quarter of the year because they are using a system. Then we come down to those that are not doing so fine. What makes them not to do so well in terms of utilizing the system? First of all, it has to do with the institutional heads. They have to make deliberate policies or deliberate directives to the officers down there to say, we are going to use this system whether you like it or not. This has happened under Ministry of Lands, where we had a lot of support starting from the Minister himself, the PS, the Commission of Lands. They said whether you like it or not, we are moving into the new system. And that helped to bring about adoption and change within the ministry. Everyone knew that there's no way out. We just need to know this system. So the institutional heads, they play a very big role in terms of fostering change in these institutions. That's number one. Number two, as Smart Zambia and also as a ministry working together, we make sure that we capacity building is a continuous thing. Getting feedback from these institutions and also training them is one of the tasks that we do undertake. As for the Zambia police, one of the issues that came out clearly was that there was high movement of officers. Those were trained, like in the case of Interpol, they were transferred somewhere else. So we had to retrain them. And also, Smart Zambia donated some computers to make sure that they are operational. But the issue of adoption and change is real. If they don't get it from the top office.
Yes, Honorable Mfarari. Director, can switch off the mic? Oh, sorry.
Chair, he's the director in order to start pointing at which top. He's saying on the top, which top? Is he not the ministry itself? Is responsible for these monies. And it's within their mandate to ensure that the utilization is in full. So if he keeps on pointing on the top, which top? You are the top, sir.
Thank you. Director, please take that note, take that into consideration and proceed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Honorable. We have a lot to learn in our language. When we say the top, we are saying the executive of an institution, they have to make sure that they foster change. They show that willingness to change. Whenever there is no change, we find it very difficult for us, even when we are coming from external. They'll give you the audience, but the moment you leave, nothing happens. So unless the head of the institutions, they take it upon themselves to say, this is a change that has been directed to us, and we need to implement it. And we have seen it. Cooperative is one of them. Cooperative is one of them that is doing very well because the executive at that level, they have said that we are going to deal with cooperative. We are going to deal with the digital issues. There was a question, Chair, if the low utilization is adequately answered. There was an issue of INRIS as to why we have not connected to INRIS. This project for INRIS started in 2008. To date, we have not had any successful or we have not had the much needed system that we needed to connect to. and therefore we had to use the secondary ID because INRIS has to do with the identity. So in terms of human beings, we had to use the secondary ID which existed with these government institutions in order for us to proceed. As for companies, we had no challenges, and also as for registrar of societies, clubs, we had no challenges with those IDs. So we couldn't wait. We can't wait for one institution to finish. Meanwhile, we need to make progress. We need to digitalize government institutions. The issue of time frame. We have set targets. We don't know when you're going to meet those targets, but we want to digitalize.
Point of order. Chair.
Yes, Honorable.
I appreciate the director's submissions, but this committee doesn't want to hear endless targets. You don't know when you achieve your target. I think we need to be specific. This is a project. You can't have a project in a vacuum. And Chair, what is also not answering, for example, this JSB, project sign-off documents, they sign off development, first design they sign off, development signed off, implementation signed off, and they pay in full. But it was not implemented. So, Chair, may they explain what they were signing off if it was not implemented on JSB as of 31st July and things were signed off. And can they give us a specific time? Because money has been paid. We can't have targets which they don't know when they'll be achieved. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Maybe before Honorable Mwila and Honorable Lumai comes in, I want, because there are a lot of questions, so Director ICT, or I don't know, you can clarify on those points, then I'll allow now after that Honorable Mwila and Honorable Lumai to come through. So let him clarify what Honorable Wamnyima has raised to that effect. You can proceed.
What we have done in order to mitigate on the length period of the project implementation, one of the components in the project is to build capacity within ourselves and give us a period of 3 years. Then we minimize the participation of the developer in the development of government systems going forward. So capacity building is a component. As we are talking right now, there will be a boot camp that is going to take place where Smart Zambia and also Ministry of Finance, including other institutions such as ZRA, will be isolated and trained on how to develop these systems on the platform so that going forward, we reduce the participation of the consultant. Eventually, maybe within 3 years, the consultant may not be there to provide every nitty-gritties in development. Maybe we'll just remain with a layer of specialized support that we need from there. So that is the plan which is there. So capacity building is to build capacity within ourselves to make sure that we reduce the involvement of the consultant going forward. So we have taken that seriously, and it's component number 6, which is being paid for in the implementation of this project. I don't know if I've answered on that one.
Thank you. Before Honorable you come in, PS, I think the problem we are having is that your officers are being reactive, and I was very hesitant to start moving that direction. In the way first answers are being provided, the way these letters were done. This letter was done on 1st November. I think you signed it to someone acting AG on the 6th of November, and we are seated today, which I think as and when, who's Mr. Chinyama? Where is he? Where is Mr. Chinyama? He's not here? Why is he not here? He's the author of these letters. which is basically reacting to the audit queries. PS, these issues should be taken seriously. And officers, they shouldn't be writing things they don't come here to explain. They are there, and it's business as usual. Who's from Smart Zambia? Can you call Mr. Chinyama? Tell him we want him to come here and come and explain for himself. Because these are serious matters where people should come and explain. If he's in charge of this project, national coordinator, call him. Tell him they want you to come and explain. You are not the author of this letter. So that he comes and explain to us when this audit was done, when these issues were highlighted, and why is he responding just now to come and give us this letter. Director ICT, where did you get this letter? Because this letter was supposed to be provided even to the auditors minus before it coming here to be circulated.
Chair, this is, I think, in the process of trying to make preparation to come and appear with the committee, we contacted Smart Zambia, and this is the response which came. On top there, I think, Chair, I refer to the Accountant General because the ICT department and the system sit under the Accountant General's office. So that's my signature, which is there to try to take action on this particular issue. So the national coordinator of Smart Zambia has the overall responsibility of overseeing, I think, the ICT issues within government. Yeah.
Maybe by my clarification, Director ICT, are you from Smart Zambia or from Ministry of Finance? Because I think we need to clarify this.
It's from Ministry of Finance, but attached to Ministry of Finance, but their link is from Smart Zambia. Chair, this is used to be the old ICT department within government, seated under Ministry of Finance, but following the reforms, Smart Zambia now created as an independent institution under Cabinet Office, overseeing now all the ICT related issues for entire government. But we've got officers who are seconded or attached to each particular ministry, overseeing the ICT issues. As I've been Chair.
Why PS asked that question before Honorable Mfalari comes in and other honorable members? I think, we're still on Honorable Mwila and Honorable Lumai, then Honorable Mfalari. Is that these guys from Smart Zambia, or these officers from Smart Zambia, they are supposed to advise the ministry in terms of IT related issues. Even the progress and processes and implementation, they are the ones who are in the forefront. So it's befitting for them to give us answers and also advise the PS, this we've implemented, we can proceed and pay. PS, the danger is that this module is not fully implemented. Because here we are looking at a lot of issues. There's issues of change management. There are issues of buying into the system. You find sometimes people don't want to buy into the system because they believe in there's a kind and method when they're doing issues of Interpol, for example. It's easy to get cash, write a receipt or do it without that and all those loopholes. And people don't want to buy into the system because it's bringing insanity. I was conversating with Auditor General here. This printout up to today from the police, Interpol clearance, only 12 items. How many vehicles comes in the country and which are cleared every month? We can't have 12. If we go to the manual register, it's more than that. Why? Because this is a huge investment which government has pushed through, like honorable members are asking. $16 million plus for this PS. And people are giving us 12 entries. Are we going to ensure that we collect enough revenue vis-a-vis the investment, cost-benefit analysis? It's a problem. That's why we want those people from such institutions to explain They are the technocrats to tell us as a committee, to tell you as PS on how we can ensure that we improve and the dangers to that effect. That is why we are asking who's from that Smart Zambia, who's supposed to do that. So it's imperative that that coordinator comes here and tells us, we understand. Honorable Mwila can proceed, and Honorable Lumai, then Honorable Mufarari can... then
Chair, just a point of order before we continue.
Yes.
The director mentioned about a consultant. May the director avail to the committee who the consultant is? Because you're just telling us about a consultant who is still handling this whole application. Who's the consultant? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Dak.
Thank you, Chair. Just to add on what Honorable Member has just from alluding to, is it controlling officer? I think the committee would want also to have the consultants agreement so that we can check the terms and conditions that actually give authority for a full payment when the system hasn't been fully operationalized. Chair, I submit.
Thank you. After then, Honorable Mwila, you can proceed. The director can switch off your mic.
Chair, my input is partly what you have actually mentioned.
Okay.
I think that for us to have a very productive discussion on this subject, we needed the Smart Zambia to be on the table. Because in fact, they are quoted as having been consulted at the time of signing. So without them, we are having a lot of questions not being adequately addressed. I suggested that we need a Smart Zambia here, so that we flow along with the ministry staff. Otherwise, as it is now, we will not be having adequate responses. I submit, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Lumai.
Mr. Chairman, as submitted by Honorable Mwila, I don't know if the director will be able to answer this question. Arising from the submissions being raised by honorable members, the first query from the Auditor General, you are told that this certification authority is operating without a license. And the implications, Mr. Chairperson, that now this certification authority is operating without a license, there's no confidentiality, integrity, and the availability of sensitive information. And Mr. Chairman, the money has already been paid, and the system has not been certified. So while the director is saying that banks connected to the Zampay portal, Zim online services, but there is no license. And Mr. Chairperson, when you go to appendix number 1, Mr. Chairman, this is when they are writing to the e-government division. I think this is Mr. Chinyama himself. So up to now, Mr. Chairperson, there's no response from Mr. Chinyama. This letter was written on 23 October 2023. This is requesting Mr. Chinyama regarding the operating as a certification authority without a license, failure to conduct information technology audits. So, Mr. Chairman, the committee is at sea. We can only find the answers if we can sit with Smart Zambia to explain to us, because I want to understand how is this authority operating, who certified it, because it doesn't have a license. So I don't know, Mr. Chairman, if the committee is able to proceed in this regard.
Thank you, Honorable Mai. Controlling officer, do we have anyone from Smart Zambia?
Chair, there is just that officer who introduced, I think, himself from Smart Zambia. Just one officer from Smart Zambia.
Is he able to respond to the issues that the committee has raised? Is he able to take full responsibility and respond to the issues that the committee has raised?
Chair, maybe let me ask him if he's able to do that. Then probably the alternative is to ask the national coordinator probably to come as we suggested by the chair.
Officer, I would like to adjourn the meeting for 10 minutes so that we consult amongst ourselves. And as you leave, I lift your immunity. So you can leave us briefly so that we can consult each other. I thank you.
So another part of the Jewish history of this town is in fact the Pioneer Tower behind me. That was funded by the Sussman brothers. They were amongst the first Jewish people to come to this country back in the 1890s. And once Livingston town was built in 1905, they were amongst the first inhabitants. And 50 years later, as part of the celebration of their lives in this country, they funded the building of the clock tower. And of course it has a wonderful view over the falls, which you can see in front of us here, all the way down there. So it's part of the celebration, and 100 years later the Sussman brothers came back, and the Lutunga came from Barot Sudan to come and meet them. That is the prominence that this particular family had in this country, and of course in South Africa, because they left here, Livingston, to go to South Africa, where they set up in South Africa the company called Woolworths. So to this day the Jewish people have a strong influence not only in this country but in the sub-region. This is Nicky Iljon's shop. The Iljon family, of which there were various members of it, were one of the first inhabitants of the new town of Livingston, and this shop became one for selling bicycles and model aeroplanes. Now Nicky Iljon himself was the one who sadly closed down the synagogue when the last child had gone through there back in 1972. They then left here to go abroad after that. Behind me you can see there's a shop with pharmacy written on it. This used to be Sossi's Garage. This was a man called Harry Sossen who married into the Sussman family, and he had the leadership of the Chevrolets back in the Northern Rhodesian days. And also, I'm pointing out over here, this tree is exactly where King George VI of Great Britain stood in 1947 in his visit to this country. Behind me is the Capitol Theatre, which today is the oldest cinema and theatre left in Zambia, and it was owned originally by the Grill family, and a young man married into their family, and his name was Harry Sossin, who we've talked about earlier. And this is where famous people in the world like Alfred Hitchcock and Danny Kaye came through to see films here. It was built in 1931, and beyond it is the yellow building, Stanley House, which is where they sold the finery to the local girls. That was dresses and all the rest of it as well. And then further down the road is a very famous intersection. This was the main intersection in town, and everybody in town knew it as Fix, Flax and Orfox Corner, after the three traders who were there. There was Sam Fix, who ran a wonderful dressmaking company. Old Man Flax ran the haberdashery, like a hardware store, and beyond it was the Orfox family, and they traded in everything else. And the humor at the time was that these three business folk made all their money during the day and ran it across the bank, which is on the fourth corner. And if you look down the end, there's actually a lovely white building over there, which used to be Barclays before it moved across the road. The three shops behind me were owned by a gentleman called Elias Kapelowitz. Elias came from Latvia just before the First World War and traded with the local people further upstream. He used to paddle with his workers 40 miles upstream to exchange goods like beeswax and honey and things like that. And he then left here just after the First World War to go back to get a wife from Latvia, and they came through. Her name was Henny, and they ran the first completely kosher household in town. And they were very influential in here. They had an open house policy, and many Jewish people came through here. But their importance was recognized later on in life when they had both died, is their family received a letter of condolence from Buckingham Palace because of all the wonderful work they'd been doing for the communities, not just the Jewish communities, out here in the then Northern Rhodesia. And I think that's a great rubber stamping of the kinds of people we had coming over here in the early years. When the town of Livingston was built in 1905, provision was actually made for a synagogue to be built, and originally the site was where the St. Andrew's Anglican Church is today. But eventually in 1928 this site was taken over and the first synagogue in this country was built. The stone was unveiled by Eli Sussman, who later on left to go down to South Africa. But this is where they had a hall where they could all get together on the Sabbath and speak Hebrew and pass on all their traditions. The middle building was where the rabbi lived, and of course this here was the synagogue. Here we are at the Jewish cemetery, a place of great sanctity for the Jewish people. The first grave in Livingston town back in 1905 was in fact grave number 1 at the far end, Mr. Gelman, Abraham Gelman. This particular cemetery is now closed as the last Jewish person left the town. It was then closed up. But our traveling rabbi, Moshe Silverhaupt, came through, and with his work and guidance we've been able to get it to this wonderful level where people come through and visit the graves. It's custom in the Jewish tradition to put a stone on the grave as you go past. It's like saying, I've been here and I've left a message. And you can see the wonderful plaque we've had installed here, which just gives you an outline of the Jewish involvement in the area. We're now at what became the heart of the Sussman Empire. That is the Mulabezi railway line. They were trading in cattle and in timber by this stage. And so what we have here is a 2-in-1. This is the first railway museum in the country and the first Jewish museum in one.
The Jewish Museum opened its doors to the general public in September 2013, just to narrate the history of the Jews, those who settled in Zambia. They came a long time ago, in the early 1920s, most of them, they came through Zimbabwe from Victoria Falls. By 1905, coming up with the opening of the railway line, which gave them an opportunity to start trading along the railway line up to Congo. So some of them from Livingstone, they went to settle in Lusaka and Kabwe in the Copper Belt. Lusaka and Kabwe, then in the Copper Belt up to Congo here. So these are the areas where the Jewish communities were able to settle. Why in the Copper Belt? There were already mushrooming industries that were able to give them business, like the opening of the mines there. They were also trying to bring some multi-industries along the line of rail, which gave them business. Now, the coming up of setting this museum here is just to appreciate their contributions in terms of the local, their contributions to the local community, their contributions in terms of economic, social, and political. So the history covers the entire Zambia. Otherwise, it opened its doors in 2013 in September. So as we enter inside the Jewish Museum, we will be able to follow their chronological history. This was the first Jewish wedding which was conducted here in Livingstone by the Anne Green family and the Harris Sussmans in 1910. The first Jewish wedding in northern Rhodesia by then. Yes, otherwise all these activities, they are narrating the history of Livingstone for the Jews that were settling here. You can see these were one of the early shops which was for the Grill General outfitters in Livingstone around 1910. You can even see. Unfortunately, these buildings are no longer in existence, but as for this one and that Capital Theatre, this one, when you go right to the center of Livingstone town, you are able to see the building. So, in short, it's just narrating the history of Livingstone. What did they come to do? For how long? That's the history for the Livingstonians.
Tambiangula wa mulwa kawa musao tamba kufama ya mbuta siku tambaloka na singwa kumutondo na sile ngwandati wambele nyachi wambele ngombe munuka sawa mwambeli na vanaka kwanganyi na mumule ya mukati wa kukwala ko katwese kumwambela ineki mwiye twende tali ambayi na ngumela ndo iyo wayo wawesanela ndwa mbungwanye tena litilera manyelele aruina litilera omukung'atanga ndwa maya Wilu yotanyetenyo musila kwalanga mungambayi mwana mukamba noyenyi tokunyendera twilu nyendera mukungumba sita mwana lyambayi wakuti mwana bali mwana mukowe wese kumwala kumiona mbo umuferezi nyeke inyunyumani veulu itako utete tokuwaulwa kwa kwaona lyondo vilo nasile mandumba iwa nitundu vile njini ngasino mene timeka munu wilu kisiwa na mbonwa na vanaka kwangaita ena nyina kumuva kutongoka kumuyume na kutongoka wilu munu anungu mwelo mukukandela wiye twende kakwisesi kana mbwela konji ngoma na lumino boyi wakulitili ngoma watifulana tinaende mwenduko mukulo ipuwa kutombwela ineki changwe
Thank you, PS. Let me confer you back with immunity together with your team. PS, the resolution of the committee is that we cannot proceed with the answers which we are getting from your technocrats who are supposed to advise you, and also you who you came with to ensure that they help you mitigate some of these queries which have been highlighted in the Auditor General's report. So our request is that you go back, then we look at a day when I think Secretariat will communicate with you. We need you to come with Smart Zambia, the national coordinator, and all other people who are involved in this project. So we also want ZICTA to come. The people are responsible at ZICTA on some of those issues which we highlighted. And also we want immigration, which is here now. The people are there, is just maybe a member of the committee, but we want the actual guys at immigration who are working or implementing or working in this system, or the one who's in charge plus other people there. The police also, we want them, those who are actively involved in this module at Zambia Police. We want national registration also to come through. These we are highlighting are those ones who are not implementing this system in terms of changing or migration to that effect. Then we also want a consultant to this project to also accompany you as you come back to appear before this honorable committee. There are a lot of issues I think highlighted in paragraph 6, 7, and 16, which I think as we finish this and we'll give you the holistic conclusion and also what we intend to, what we can recommend moving forward. Because of this aspect, I think as for today, we're not going to proceed and do those recommendations, but we've taken note, and some of the issues we've discussed and you've submitted together with Commissioner General as well as the Minister of Finance officers. So like I've guided Smart Zambia, ZICTA, Immigration, Police, National Reg, and the consultant to accompany you to come and help you so that we can holistically look at this issue and understand it. And I also want the Accountant General to come so that we look at that issue. Then there's an issue which I think is still pending on paragraph 6, which is KCM and Mopani. Also, we want to come and address it at the same time. If there's further guidance to that effect, we'll still communicate. So, PS, with that said, let me thank you most sincerely with your team for coming to appear before this honorable committee and your submission and your interventions you are taking as the Minister of Finance to ensure that government implements its policies to that effect. So let me take this opportunity now to lift immunity which was conferred before you, that is being lifted together with your team. Will liaise and ensure that we look at the space when you can come and complete this questioning. Thank you so much and have a good afternoon.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the members of the committee, and who will gladly will be ready to come, I think, once we're given a date. Thank you, Chair.
I'm Kapelwa Mbagweta, Member of Parliament for Nkeyema. I went to school for my primary school in Sefula. Then I went to the Sheke Secondary School. Then to the University of Zambia. After completing at the University of Zambia, that time we had the one holding company called Zimco. I started working at Zesco, where I spent most of my time, I think around 10 years. Then I was transferred to Zambia State Insurance. From Zambia State Insurance, I was transferred to Zimco head office, where I stayed until Zimco went into voluntary liquidation as a result of a political decision. by the government then. From that time, I went into the private sector. I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers for a number of years. Then I went to NAPSA, where I was the first director of human resources in the Transform the National Provident Fund. After that, I retired, became a full-time consultant, and also on the sidelines a politician. This is my second term. I was first elected in 2016-2021. I'm married with 5 children. The people in Nkema are farmers. As a matter of fact, Nkema is the breadbasket of Western Province, second only or probably at par with Kaoma. And so we do a lot of farming there. And in the future, after we've done all the basics, we will be applying some of the CDF to productive activities. Productive activities in the sense that you buy tractors and that sort of thing. So the enhanced CDF is the icing on the cake, because in Nkema we have 4 ways of bringing development to the people. Firstly, through central government. Secondly, through CDF now. Thirdly, through corporates and the international non-governmental organizations. Of course, the enhanced CDF means that all of